In this lesson, we're going to be talking about multi-page templates. Now you can download an updated multi-page template from jQueryMobile.com if you go to the demos and you take a look in the Pages and Dialogues submenu. Now, multi-page templates differ from single-page templates in one primary way. Single-page templates have the HTML for various pages split up into various HTML files. This multi-page template is an example of a page that has all of the content and all of the markup for all of the pages of the site within one file. Let's go ahead and switch over to our text editor and take a look at the code. So we have the head just like normal, and then inside of the body we have several divs with the data role of page, and they all have IDs. Now this is important. In situations where every page has its own HTML file, you don't necessarily need to have an ID because you don't need to necessarily target the div that has the data role of page. In situations where you're using multiple pages within one HTML file, such as this one, you definitely need an ID because you need to be able to reference the pages individually. So here's our first div with data role of page, and it has an ID of 1. If you scroll down, you see another one with a data role of page, and it represents our second page. It has an ID of 2. Scrolling to the third one, the ID is predictably 3. Now throughout this page, we have a couple hyperlinks. For example, right here, we have an anchor tag that goes to #2. Now in normal sites not using jQuery Mobile, if we had something with an ID of 2, it would actually jump to that location in the document, to the named anchor. However, because jQuery Mobile uses hashtags for navigation, this links to our second page. We'll put page in air quotes because, of course, it's just a div inside of this document. Let's actually take a look at it in action now. So if I click on that link down here, show page 2, it does a fade effect and it goes to page 2. You can press back to page 1, that'll bring you back. You can click on this next one, and it'll go to all of these different pages. Now if you take a look in the WebKit inspector, you'll notice that yes indeed, we have our 3 divs. Page, ID of 1, role is page, ID of 2, data role is page, ID of 3. Now you'll also notice perhaps that jQuery Mobile adds extra markup in here. For example, it adds a class of UI page and UI body C and UI page active. Now these are all for the styling framework that they've built, all of the CSS that you've included. It links up with these classes that jQuery Mobile adds to these different divs. Now you may notice this one has all of those classes and this one does not have any classes at all. And that's because this is the current page. If I click on page 2, we'll move this over so we can see it. You'll notice in the WebKit inspector that now this gets all of those classes and they're removed from this first page. That's a good chunk of how jQuery Mobile actually weaves the magic and makes it look like these different divs are actually different pages. Now, multi-page templates are very, very handy if you have a relatively small site. The reason is when you click on a link, there's absolutely no latency because the browser doesn't need to fetch the new page from the server. This is, of course, because the entire page is right there inside of that one document. Now, using a multi-page setup like this also comes with its negatives. The primary negative is very similar to the positive, in fact. If you have a large site, it has to load all of those pages at the very beginning when you first hit the site. So if you have a large or complex site, a multi-page template is probably not the way to go simply because the user will have to load the entire website all at once, all at the beginning, which means they'll have a little bit longer to wait before seeing your page in action. It's a good idea to keep these pros and cons in mind when deciding whether you're going to go with a single page mode or a multi-page mode. That concludes this lesson.